fantasy short stories. Propinquity or Bust by Barney Sperlin. Cheryl and Miss Connors watched as Bert and Lucy Lancer got up on opposite sides of the bed, the couple stripping off pajamas and underwear. Neither bedmate looked at the other. The pair pulled on jumpsuits, careless about the lay of the seams and positioning of the holes, despite frequent practice. The two viewers were up early on go-no-go day. Their brightly lit white room was bare beyond the desk supporting the video view of the bedroom, the entrance door behind them, and the bedroom door they faced. Cheryl glanced down at her manager's twisting hands. She was aware Connors presented the face of the project, and getting too old to start again. The boss's shellacked, coiffed do, silver tie, and gray, wrinkle-free power suit displayed the best image. Project managers matched their sports counterparts, celebrated for winning, fired for losing. Connors nervously felt for the button in her right jacket pocket. Cheryl's wardrobe took more thought than Connors. She had to avoid upstaging the boss in quality, as well as deflecting the display of her youthful body. A dark gray suit, half a size too large, worked. In her first post-collegiate job, which didn't painfully spatter French fry oil, she was committed to making a success here, no matter the stress. Everyone, down to the trash haulers, felt they deserved her boss's job. Maybe not me now, Cheryl thought, but one day. "Ready?" Bert asked his mate. "No," was her quiet reply. Me neither." Connors winced. Cheryl's slightly raised eyebrows went unnoticed. The rocket pilot exhaled, walked to the door, glanced back, and opened it. They stepped into the bright room. "Ah, the heroes of our time!" The piercing, positive voice punched into them, echoing around the sparse room as the couple's hands shielded the glare. Connors appeared confident and controlled. Cheryl wondered if her mentor could get through the next 5 minutes. "And," she continued, "how are Mr. and Mrs. Lancer feeling this morning? Ready to invade Mars?" She giggled at her joke. "Mars or bust, hmm?" The Lancers glanced at each other, trading frowns. Mr. Lancer stared down at the bright, toothy smile. "We've decided not to go through with this charade." "Oh," giggling again. "Always joking. That's what we love about you, dears." She spoke too loudly for normal conversation, indicating the speech wasn't just for the couple's benefit. Mrs. Lancer moved towards her. "Miss Connors, this won't work. We won't go." "Oh, but dearie, you're all dressed for it, so you must want to go." The firm but gentle tone seemed just right. "No, dearie," Lucy spat. "These were the only clothes available. We quit. Give us our real clothes. We're gone." "Now, it's really too late for that. The rocket's been fueling for the last few hours and is about ready. TV crews and the whole world are waiting for your entrance at the gantry. You simply cannot disappoint the world. You wouldn't want to disappoint the world, would you? Or me?" Bert advanced, joining his wife. "You know as well as I that Lucy has been cheating on me with that Kyle jerk from Media Relations." "Relations!" Lucy turned sharply. "You've been taking out every young cutie who shimmies at you. It's finally my turn. You drove me to him." Miss Connors raised her hands, palms forward. "Now, people, this isn't the time. Your public awaits, and eternal fame will be yours. Keep your heads up and smile as you stride into a new age." "The only striding we're doing is out of here." Bert gestured towards the single exit door on the wall ahead of him. "I'd have to listen to her complaining day and night for 8 years. You're asking the impossible, cooped up together in a small spacecraft." Oh, dear, no. You'll have lots to do to keep your mind off little things like that. And you'll grow fond of each other as you work through the preparations for landing on Mars, setting up your habitat, surviving there, and then prepping for the return home. And finally, she put her palms together and tilted her head slightly to the left. The adoration of civilization as the first colonists to return in triumph. Time will pass in a flash. Cheryl had practiced with Connors for weeks, categorizing the possible scenarios. The mutiny necessitating D this morning, but the aide felt sure the lead actor had her part down cold. Lucy frowned, leaning toward Connors. No! We'd soon strangle each other. It can't work. It's just a mistake. We're walking. Miss Connors tittered. Now, silly, we're much too far along for such a display. The cost of dismantling and continuing with a new couple would be unacceptable to our shareholders. Now, really. Now you just scamper on through the door behind me and put on your protective suits. Lucy again moved closer to Connors, shoulders and arms rising, hinting at aggression. Yeah, now we're gonna scamper, all right. Out of here! Cheryl frowned, moving slightly behind Connors. The scenario was dissolving faster than they had expected. Maybe it was time to speak up and suggest a halt, moving to another couple later in the year. Connors blinked rapidly as she appeared to click down the tree of possibilities. Still scenario D, but plan B. Now these nice, young, patriotic... Connors stopped. In her stress, she had gone to the wrong response. Her hands twisted, but she was sure only her fingers were worried. The last project failure had created a need for this next option. Bert squinted at his antagonist. What? Cheryl focused on the floor, hands behind her, shuffling her feet. Did she have the courage to speak up? With the action speeding along, there wasn't time for serious consideration. Well, watch and learn from a master. The manager found her correct script position. She knew better than to admit a mistake. Oh dear, I told them it shouldn't be necessary. I just knew you'd see reason and do what's expected. After all, you weren't drafted. You both volunteered. She batted her overly long lashes, nervously fingering the button in her pocket, relieved to be back on track. Lucy closed within inches, nastier than before. That was years ago, before I found out about him. Now really, be sensible. You both must take responsibility. No! They screamed in unison. Well, Connors added a little exasperation to her tone. I'm sorry. She squeezed the button in her pocket. 4 solidly built men came through the door from the outside world, surrounding the recalcitrant pair, almost in contact. Now, these nice, young, patriotic gentlemen can carry you through that door and finish dressing you, or you can simply do it yourselves, with many fewer black and blue marks. Connors focused on Lucy, having written that last comment with her in mind. Lucy turned to Bert, grabbing his sleeve. Stop them! You can't let them... Cheryl stood beside Connors, contemplating the rocket and its supporting gantry a mile from the cement bunker. Small, tilted windows of shatterproof glass provided the only light in the empty, low-ceilinged room. I don't see how you'll get the media to look the other way when they can see the fight they're putting up. Miss Connors smiled thinly. Now, dearie, they'll see what we want them to see. After that last derailment with the Lopez couple, I've rigged everything to go our way. All the rehearsals were filmed from multiple angles, even their entry into the capsule and strapping in. Smiles and thumbs up. It was from a couple of years ago, but we fed it to the media in real time. It's all so smooth. Now you wouldn't want Space Y Corporation to look bad, would you? Who agreed to that strong-arm stuff? Oh, I laid it all out to corporate before you came on board, and they were only too happy to cover every contingency. You know, I don't have an engineering degree, but engineers aren't the only ones who have to think of everything. What if they do all 8 years, come back, and blast us? Connors turned slightly. I may not have a psychology degree, dearie, but I'll be watching and listening. It's a dangerous trip, and, well, who knows? If things go badly, we'll make their statues for traffic circles in Washington. Glory will be theirs. Cheryl's shocked reply was interrupted by a chirp in her earphone. You better take this. Bert has unstrapped himself and is pounding on the window. Connors sighed. That's why the window faces the ocean and not the banks of photographers. Honestly, it's been so hard to think of everything. She grabbed a headset. Hey, Sam, give me two-way to the capsule. After a few moments, her voice became stern. Bert, get back in your seat and strap in. Listening then. I know you don't want to do what I say, but if you're not strapped in, the G-forces will smash you to bloodstains before you've reached space. You may hate Lucy, but you don't want to make her stomp around in your gore for 8 years. Now, be a good boy and make the most of it. You'll like her in time anyway. It's called Propinquity. She signed off with an emphatic click. Connors stretched her arms upward and yawned, touching the low ceiling, almost mussing a few hairs. I hope we don't have to go to Plan I. That one upsets me so. And its final proposal isn't really finished. I may not be a lawyer, but I have to think of every argument against our work and find a rebuttal. Paperwork. My life is so hard. Turning briskly and heading for the door, she let a small smile slip through, whispering, It's not like last time. Maybe I'll get a statue in a traffic circle, too. Then louder, Come on, I may not have a culinary degree, but I know when it's time to chow down. You know, you've seen one launch, you've seen them all, but every launch is great. Cheryl was frozen by the newly discovered horror of her position. She could go back to being an accountant for her father's hardware store, or join her friend Pat at Tech Talk. How hard could it be to tell Connors face-to-face she wasn't the manager's kind of person, then tell the world what just happened? However, she could envision the glamour of TV appearances and an obscene salary. Learning at Connor's side would pay off as she climbed corporate ladders and smashed glass ceilings. Propinquity! Are you coming? Connor's voice awakened her. Cheryl smiled. She'd stick with the project until the Lancers were safely on their way, collect another year of prime cash, then denounce the project when she'd found the right landing spot. She twisted toward her mentor, grinning through thin lips. I'm starving. Barney is a retired math and computer science teacher, as well as a programmer in industry. Golden Age sci-fi is a favorite and reflects in his writing, which he finally has time for. A previous story was printed in TERSEJournal. He also writes essays on gardening. While they generally are off the wall, a few can be instructive. They lurk at thegardenedge.blogspot.com. Hey guys, hope you like that story. This is one of the things I've always wondered about going to Mars, is it's going to be a very small group of people. And I'm the kind of person who feels like company gets a little too old after just a couple of days. I don't know if I could be locked in a small tube with 12 people or anything like that. I like my alone time. If you did like it, be sure to leave a thumbs up and a comment if you're on YouTube. Or if you're listening to the podcast, just be sure to subscribe for more brand new short stories. I'm Chris Herron, and that's it for today's Tall Tale TV.